we want to make sure as we're bringing in A players to our team, we're inviting them to work with our best clients and customers, and that we have that sweet spot clearly defined. We define the sweet spot, and then we start looking at who are the A players that we need on the team to, if we're going to take the small seed that we have that is our sweet spot, and we're going to 10x it or 100x it, what is that role for that A player going to look like at that point? And that's who we want to hire.
You work hard in your business. On the Profit by Design podcast, we ask the big question: what has your business done for you lately? Hi, I'm Dr. Sabrina Starling, the business psychologist, the author of How to Hire the Best, and your co-host on the Profit by Design podcast. Weekly, my co-host, Mike Bruno, and I bring you tips, tools, and strategies from our own experiences and from the experiences of our guests, who are entrepreneurial thought leaders and real-life entrepreneurs, all to support you in making intentionally profitable and sustainable business decisions to live the lifestyle you desire. At Tap the Potential, we know you're longing to be freed from the constant demands of your business. You need a business that supports your life. And the problem is your business is taking over your life, leaving you frustrated and discouraged. We get it. At Tap the Potential, we believe work supports life, not the other way around. We understand you're paying a team, and most likely you're still having to do it all. There should be accountability. It should not be this hard, which is why through our proprietary coaching system, we help thousands of business owners like you have more time for what's important to them and grow profit by 300 to 800%. Here's how we do it. Start by taking our assessment at tapthepotential.com/assessment. You'll get an overview of your current quality of life as it relates to your business and next steps needed in your business to improve your quality of life while strengthening your business. Next, meet with our success team lead to debrief your results. Then, join our Better Business, Better Life program. By the end of your first year with us, you will have more time for what matters to you and more money in your bank account than you've ever had before. So, if you're ready to take your life back, the next step is to take our assessment at tapthepotential.com/assessment.
Welcome, Dr. Sabrina. How are you?
I'm great. Stacey, it's good to be back here with you for another conversation about how to hire the best.
Well, I've been looking forward to this one. So I think we're finding a rhythm with this new style of conversation.
Absolutely. I just want to say, as we're going through these different chapters in the new How to Hire the Best, the Entrepreneur's Ultimate Guide to Attracting Top Performing Team Members, as you're coming up with questions, I love the questions that you're asking me because you're working with our clients, and some of the questions that you told me that you were going to bring in today come directly from conversations we've had with clients recently in our Better Business, Better Life program. So I just really love this expanded view of what's in the book and how business owners can apply it and where we're going with that.
Yeah, sometimes I'm working through my own personal experience as a business owner for 20 years. And sometimes I'm working it through from our client's perspective. So trying to merge that information and make it productive and useful for our clients and the broader audience. So I think it's part of my personal process. Let's go with wins and successes. What are your wins and successes, Dr. Sabrina?
This week, I feel like I have a lot of them. Monday, we recorded the launch video for the book. So Randy Hickman with Penrod Media, he's our visual storyist at Tap the Potential, came over and we captured the launch video. And this is a success because this is the first time I had zero stress about recording a video. Usually leading into a video, I'm trying to think about what I'm supposed to say. I script it for myself, and then I have to remember what I came up with, and then I get all nervous looking at the camera Randy has so much patience. And at the same time, it just feels really stressful. This time coming in, our team had prepared the script for me. All I had to do was just say it. And it rolled right off because they were using words and phrases that I use normally. So again, it was just being able to work from my strengths and not be outside my zone of strengths. And I had energy afterwards. I wasn't exhausted. So usually when I do a video, I feel tired the rest of the day. And I was just like, okay, that's done. What's next?
So that's a sweet spot that you identified. And if we can keep you in your sweet spot and use the strengths of team members to help you do that, the results are better and it takes less effort and it's more enjoyable. So, yeah, I think so many times we are not enjoying the work that we're doing, and we have yet to identify what piece of that work that we excel at. So you brought up Randy and how amazing he is, and he really, truly is. I think, and I don't know this for sure, but I think input is one of his top strengths, because I notice he is an information gatherer. And he will not give you a decision or feedback until he has all the information he needs to guide you.
Yes.
And that is part of that patience, I think, that he has. So he has a really great technique and understanding how it works for him and how he can show up as his best self is pretty cool.
And he has that A player attitude. And so no matter what goes wrong with the video, Randy has always found a way to make it work. And so, with the other piece that made this go so well is Randy and I have worked together for a long time. I'm very comfortable with him. And I know some of our clients have started to use his services as well for creating their videos. And because he knows them, and that's the strength that he brings as a visual storyist, he really gets to know his clients and their sweet spot. And he's always thinking of how do we highlight what they need to highlight in their video to tell that story. So I really feel like this video that will come out with the book launch is the confluence of at least 4 of our team members' strengths, like working, simultaneously together to create a product, which is really cool.
Okay, that's a mic drop moment and that's part of what I want to talk about as our conversation continues. Like, really elevating the result when you get team involved and everyone's working from their strengths, how much smoother things are, how much better things are. And I've seen a huge change over time in the work that Randy's been doing. So as he's developing those skills, he's really honing in on what he can do best for people, which is cool. What's another win?
Yeah, I have 3 of them. So the other win is that Rochelle got the book uploaded to Amazon over, I think, yesterday. And so my author copy of How to Hire the Best is on its way to me. It'll be here either sometime between the 31st and Monday. So I know we're recording this by the time this episode drops, I will already have the book. But this is exciting because this is the first time I get to actually hold the book in my hands and I get to go through it and just make sure that the layout, it's very different from looking at something on a screen versus holding it in your hand. So this will be my very last editing pass through the book, and any small changes that need to be made get made. And then it's ready for publication November 18th. So Profit designers, if you want to be in the loop with everything going on around the book launch and when to get your hands on the book, if you want to be an ambassador for the book, go to howtohirethebest.com. That's the place where all that information resides, and you'll be able to get your copy and get it in your hands. And there's also going to be an Audible version of the book coming out. So I know a lot of you are audio people because you're listening to a podcast. So there will be an Audible version, and I read it myself. So I'm excited about all of that.
Well, so having the author read the book makes such a difference in communication. And I talk to lots of people, and they all tell me that they like the books so much better, and it has so much more impact when the author is reading the book themselves.
Yeah. And I really feel like this podcasting that I've been doing here on the Profit by Design podcast over the last 2 years has set me up to be able to do that. That's not a skill that I had 2 years ago, and it would have been really hard to produce a whole audio book. But for me now, sitting in front of a microphone and speaking, just it rolls because I've had so much practice. And, this is just the iterative process, again, of getting to work from our strengths and getting to practice more to build our strengths. And that piece is so powerful because it's that 10,000 hours of practice focused on a strength versus 10,000 hours of practice focused on a weakness, where we get incremental improvement with that when we focus on a weakness. But when we build a strength, it's just powerful.
So that incremental improvement is at the expense of a whole lot of agony.
Oh, yes. Mike Bruno and I look back with fond memories on our first podcast recording and how nervous I was. He was just like, Sabrina, settle down. It's going to be okay. And I was just like, oh, I don't know what to say. And, and it was awkward. And now we just have conversations here on the podcast. I don't get stressed. I get excited. This morning I looked at my calendar and I was like, oh, Stacey and I get to podcast this morning. This is great.
That's a fun place to be. And I am re-listening to those early episodes, and there is a difference, but your nervousness didn't come across at all. So that's not what I'm focusing on. So you said you had 3 wins. Is there another one?
Yes, I have one more win. Last week, I got to record episode 112 with Don Zerbe. That podcast recording, it really was one of my favorites. I had no idea exactly where we were going to go and what Don was going to share about his experience with us. And I learned some more about him and why the 4-week vacation pledge is so important to him. And I really have come to appreciate, the meaning behind it for him. And the win for me with this is that he read How to Hire the Best 4 years ago, the very first edition that came out. And he got so much from that edition. And I think about how this series has evolved to the point of the Entrepreneur's Ultimate Guide to Attracting Top Performing Team Members. From the very first one was the Rural Business Owner's Ultimate Guide to Attracting Top Performing Employees. And so this one is for entrepreneurs everywhere, regardless of industry, geographic location, whatever, no matter even your team size. I've had people read this book in corporate settings and say, why is this for small business owners? Because we need this too. And my response to that is because I heart small business owners. That's my sweet spot. And that's what I love, is having that impact there and having the impact on their teams.
That's going to be a fun conversation. I can't wait till that comes out.
What is so cool is he read that book 4 years ago, and he walks us through what he has done in his business over the last 4 years to have the impact that he is having and to have the team in place that he has and to be able to pledge to take a 4-week vacation. So he has implemented multiple pieces of the Tap the Potential solution, and he's working with us in our Better Business, Better Life program as he's doing that. And it's beautiful to see how it all comes together. That's a win for me, is when we have clients who have those successes and they're out there sharing it with others and teaching others through their sharing.
That's awesome. It reminds me of conversations. So I'm taking John Bates' course, and that's what he's talking about, the power of storytelling and how much more connected we are when we hear things in the format of a story. So I have been a Profit First professional since January 2016, and I have been a little disconnected from Profit First since coming to work at Tap the Potential. So there is a new opportunity I get to seize, and I am super excited about reconnecting with the group. It's called, I will be the Tap the Potential Profit First champion. So I get to participate at a little different level, but it allows me access to a community that means a lot to me. They were a turning point in a career.
So I think one of the things that is really important is you are delivering profit first services to our clients, and you do a phenomenal job of it. And I was the one who was the liaison to profit first professionals for our team. And it felt to me like there was a disconnect, that we need a bridge that we needed to make so that you could be more connected within the profit first professional community like you were, because you're right, that was a big source of support for you, and you got a lot out of those relationships. I know when we went to ProfitCon together, we've been twice together, and the energy that you get from being around everyone, and I love watching you in the halls and seeing you in those conversations with people. And that piece is missing, but also the connection with the bigger community. So now you're going to be our champion. You're going to get to attend the mastery level events and participate in the mastery meetings and really bring the new developments from Profit First to our team and to our clients. It's just going to make what we do with Profit First that much stronger here. So I want to share, I Voxered Stacey. And if those of you who don't know about the app Voxer, it's great. We use it a lot on the Tap the Potential team because for voice communication. So when you have trouble getting a meeting scheduled because everyone's going here, there, and everywhere, and you just need to communicate, rather than playing phone tag, you can use Voxer, which is like walkie-talkie on your phone, and you can talk to each other back and forth, and it's captured as a recorded message that you can listen to either in real time or later. So I messaged Stacey and I said, I am going to send you a Voxer because this is a voice conversation we need to have. So I shared with her that she was going to be the Profit First champion at Tap the Potential, and Stacey Voxered me back. And I'm so glad we didn't do this by text or Slack communication, because the enthusiasm in her voice, that made my weekend. I think that was Friday evening or so that I was hearing that message from her. And I was just like, oh, she's in her strengths. This is the right thing, and it's going to be great.
Yeah. So I am excited. So I'm aware that it's an opportunity that I saw when I first started here, because I knew you would outgrow the ability to attend. So I'm really glad that it has not taken longer to get here. And I'm super excited that Profit First has a way for team members to connect. So I think it's just growth in both organizations is allowing this opportunity. And I'm grateful for the patience and the foresight to see it through. And I'm grateful for you for thinking of me in this way. So thank you.
Yeah. So let's dive in. Let's talk about how to hire the best. You have some great questions for me today.
Oh my gosh. We have so much to talk about, but I want to start with, so we have been following each of the chapters from beginning, and now we are in chapter 4 of How to Hire the Best, the Entrepreneur's Ultimate Guide to Hiring Team Members. And this chapter is all about the pipeline, creating the pipeline to bring in A players in a consistent and dependable manner. So just like we do the marketing for our businesses, we can create a pipeline where we can have consistently high quality people who want to come work for us. And we've been talking about it from the foundation levels, the immutable laws, the culture, intended and unintended. We've been talking about it in terms of what our sweet spot is, who we are as a company, who our listeners are as a company. But there's a piece of this that is a stress point for business owners, and it's all around capacity. So one of the things that I notice is we have control over those capacity issues, and yet as business owners, we feel we are at the mercy of everyone around us making demands on our time. So let's start there.
So capacity is a huge topic because there's time capacity for the entrepreneur, and then there's the business capacity for serving clients. And I want to start with the time capacity for the entrepreneur. I feel like we always have to take care of our entrepreneurs first before they're able to take care of anyone else, including their clients and customers or their team. So for years, one of the biggest struggles I had is feeling like my business ran me and, dictated my schedule. And people around me in close relationships, when I would complain about it, would say, but you're the business owner. You are in complete control of this. And I would push back and I would say, oh, no, I'm not. You think I am. I am not, because all these people need all of these things from me and I need to be available because this is how the business runs. And I had to really, over a long period of time, I don't want to say that a switch flipped because it sure didn't. It was a long period of time of me owning my time and becoming more intentional about the choices that I was making about how I was going to spend time in the business. And I think the big switch came for me when I made the 4-week vacation pledge myself. And I started looking at how do I make this business more sustainable so that it doesn't rely on me. And the paradox in that is by making the business stronger, I was actually reclaiming my time. And I did not realize that at the time. And so what I came to see is when I got more thoughtful about how I was using my time in the business and really looking at the $10,000 an hour activities. And those are the activities that us working on the business, putting systems in place, getting things ready for team members. That time was very hard to carve out. Donna Lyons and I have an accountability document that when we made our 4-week vacation pledges, we created accountability for ourselves. And we said every Friday, we're going to document for each other what we've done on our businesses. We've kept this up over 4 years. We're not perfect about documenting every Friday, but we do pester each other. And so I would say that we're about 80% perfect on documenting this. And so I knew I had to do something every week. I was trying to put one system in place in my business every week to make things stronger and better. And, there were inflection points, and I would think about those as stress points for the entrepreneur. So when I brought Darren on, now I had to switch from taking care of clients to taking care of Darren and taking care of clients. And I was like, capacity, again, my personal capacity. And I just had to breathe and look at everything that I teach him, everything that I hand off to him is freeing up space for me. And rather than letting that get filled with the random things, the reactive things like emails and things that don't have much value, I need to be intentional about using that time to work on the business. And then there was another inflection point, Stacey, when you came on board. And I knew more about hiring and onboarding then than I did when Darren came on board, because I was much further into how to hire the best and developing teams and all of that. And so because I had all that knowledge, I knew how it was supposed to be. So I put all this internal pressure on myself that, I've got to bring Stacey on board and we've got to do it right. I mean, we took you through a full interview process following The Who, which is another book.
So let me slow you down, Sabrina, because there's a lot in what you're saying. So we start with this capacity issue, and all of a sudden we find ourselves at the mercy of our clients and our vendors. And now we have the need for, maybe we hire a virtual assistant, and suddenly we find ourselves in the situation of hiring to meet the demands of other people. And the thing that began to change for you was looking at and being intentional about where you focus your energy. And you did that from the perspective of what's the $10,000 an hour thing that I need to be doing, and what's the $10 an hour thing that I'm spending the most time doing, right? So you looked at it from a financial standpoint. I hear in working with our clients in the Better Business, Better Life program, I can't do the top client assessment. I can't do the wish list interviews because I'm so busy with my clients. My clients call me all the time and they need me, and I have to do that or I won't have any clients.
Yeah. And so the thing that's been different for me with that all along is I've had a coach. I've had coaching since I started my business. And those coaches have repeatedly brought me back to, if you focus on the day-to-day and serving the clients, you will never grow a business. You will always be here. You will have more and more of the same. So this is where, for me, the pumpkin plan has been so helpful. Don Zerbe spoke to this in his podcast interview. We can't serve everyone. We have to be very selective about who we serve. And when we identify our top clients within our sweet spot, and we intentionally devote the time to getting to know them and their needs better and better, we no longer have to serve everyone. And so in this whole process, as I was bringing Darren on and you, we were losing clients. That was a good thing, because the clients who stayed were the ones that wanted to be served in the way that we were going to be able to serve them, with a team that was growing. And it was painful to lose. Some clients were legacy clients. They'd been with me for years. And I recognized I had outgrown them with where I was taking the company, and I was no longer able to serve them in the way that they wanted to be served. It was no longer a good fit. And so that's a big part of managing the capacity, is the pumpkin planning, which is part of our Tap the Potential solution that we teach our clients in the Better Business, Better Life program. You asked me a few episodes back, Stacey, should someone read How to Hire the Best and just get implementing? And I said, sure, they can, but what a waste of time. Because if you're not implementing the full Tap the Potential solution and doing profit first, profit first really needs to come first, because we're getting very focused on running the business in a way that's profitable to take care of the business owner, to make sure that the business owner gets paid. And shortly after profit first gets implemented, we have to bring in pumpkin plan. I mean, we are remiss with our clients if we don't do that with them, because you can't get to profit if you don't have a sweet spot. It does not happen in a small business. And so to hit those target allocation percentages that are laid out for your business in Profit First, you want to have that sweet spot clearly defined. And then that's the point when you want to start the hiring process and networking to hire, because inevitably we will hire people to take care of our worst clients and customers. And that is a huge drain on payroll. It impacts profitability. It creates an unsustainable business, because we're going to bring in A players and send them to work with people who are a pain in the rear. Do you think your A players are going to stick around? I think not. I mean, if we don't like working with those clients, why would we hire someone that we think is wonderful and then say, hey, Joe over here, he's a real difficult client. I want you to take care of him. That's not going to work. And so we want to make sure, as we're bringing in A players to our team, we're inviting them to work with our best clients and customers, and that we have that sweet spot clearly defined. And so we define the sweet spot, and then we start looking at who are the A players that we need on the team to, if we're going to take this seed, the small seed that we have that is our sweet spot, and we're going to 10x it or 100x it, what is that role for that A player going to look like at that point? And that's who we want to hire.
So let's stop there. I mean, you've used a lot of terminology, and we may have to bypass it, but you used the word inflection point. An inflection point, the way you used it, is the stressor. Like, this is a place where we have to adjust because it's causing conflict or discomfort. So maybe that's a turning point. Maybe that's something where we choose a different direction. So we're realigning in that.
To me, it's that point of total recognition that how we're doing things now no longer serves us to grow. Like, we're at our capacity, and this is not sustainable anymore. We have to find a different way. And, I think about some of our clients, one in particular who is just stressed to the max right now. They are at their fullest capacity. And I remember multiple times in my life as an entrepreneur being in that place and having to recognize that I can't do it all anymore. And the way I'm doing things just doesn't work. And I have to try something new, no matter how uncomfortable it is, and it creates stress. So that's the inflection point, is I'm already stressed to capacity. Now I have to try something new. Now I have to do something totally different that feels so uncomfortable. uncomfortable to me.
Yeah. Okay. So just like doing your podcasts in the beginning, that was stretching and growing, and it was uncomfortable. And yet now you're at the point where you have practice at it and you're comfortable with it, so much so that you can be the narrator for your own book.
Yes. And that comfort level with the things that are initially hard to us, getting to that place of comfort opens up more capacity to do more new things. And so, which again, I don't know what those new things are going to be. And I kind of even hate to put this out here on the podcast because it's like inviting the universe, throw something at me because I don't know. But I know that for us to tap the potential to the next level, there are new things that I need to be doing. I have an idea of some of what those are in the next year, but I don't know fully what that's going to be. And I know it's going to stretch me outside my comfort zone. And so one of the things that I had to recognize, and this is an ongoing internal battle for myself, I want everything now. And so when we talk about Vision 2021, it's laid out for December 2021. I want it now. And so I have that tendency to push. And I will say that our team has done such a great job of pacing. And let's pace it, Sabrina. And you can tell me, Stacey, I feel like I push way less now than I did a year ago or even 2 years ago.
So let me speak to that, because there's a lot going on in just that analysis or observation. And we are a bigger team. And what's happening is we're distributing responsibility across the team. So whereas you by yourself are agile and could decide today, this is what I want to do, and there's only one or two people who have to come along with you. We're a much larger team. We're not ginormous, but we're a lot bigger. So to get all of us going in that new direction, when we already have objectives that haven't been met that we're working towards, there's a shift for you because you can't go as fast. But there's a proverb, and it is, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And so that's a short term to do it the other way, to do it alone and to be agile and to not have the patience to bring everyone on. You're going to go fast, but you may not go as far. So you're constantly moving. And when you are bringing everyone together, which means you're communicating downwards and allowing other people to assume greater responsibility, it takes a lot longer to change course. So changing course is not what we need to be doing. We need to be moving incrementally closer, focusing in on what we are doing, and we can't pivot for those small captures. We have to pivot for the larger ones, and that takes more time.
Yes, and those who have followed us closely will recognize some changes that we've made. So one of those changes is the book launch was initially scheduled for mid-September, I believe, and we pushed that out to November 18th when we realized we had a major setback to work through mid-August that was going to impact the launch. And so we made that decision from a work supports life, the immutable law that we have at Tap the Potential. We knew we could have made that September launch date and it would cause all of our team enormous stress. So we decided we can give ourselves 2 months, push the launch back, and we can have a much more peaceful, enjoyable journey. And a book launch always has stress, so I don't want to minimize their stress.
I was going to say, it hasn't necessarily been the enjoyable journey, but it allowed us to make the necessary changes so that we can meet that obligation. So we do have to be flexible with our time, and we have control over it. So that brings us back to where we were with capacity and managing time.
I want to make a real strong point here for our listeners, because I think across the board, it's a common trait. We are impatient as entrepreneurs. We want things now and we want them done now. And we see the vision and we see how it could be. And we get frustrated because we're not there yet, or our team is not where we want them to be. And one of my biggest learnings in this past year is to just ask myself, what happens if we do this 2 months later? Or what happens if we push this out 3 months or 4 months? It's not procrastinating. It's making a thoughtful choice about if we want to have a bigger impact. If we give ourselves more time, what opportunities are created?
So that's a powerful question, Sabrina.
It is.
What opportunities are we creating if we give ourselves more time?
And this for me comes from COVID, because it was said to me yesterday by someone close to me that I'm very adaptable. And I've never thought of myself as an adaptable person. I'm on the people map. I'm a leader task. I like my things to be the same. And I like to know, I like predictability and all those things. And I have seen myself pivot, and I don't even like the word pivot, but shift, change in multiple ways with the business, with everything that we expected this year. In my personal life, there's been a lot of shifting going on. And this person said, you seem really adaptable. And I don't know that at my core, I'm adaptable. I do know that I've gotten much more comfortable with making changes that align with a greater vision, and taking pressure off myself that, oh, I said it was going to be this way, so we have to do it this way. We were going to hit this deadline. I've taken that pressure off. And now I'm looking at, if we need to extend this or we need to do this differently, what opportunities are created?
That's an amazing place to be, and how valuable. That's just remarkably valuable to be able to do that. And ironically, it's something so beyond anyone's control that's creating that opportunity for you to look at things that way. I think your response back in March, as things were beginning to occur, was a growth mindset. And I wouldn't say that the foundational belief is that the problem is the opportunity, but there is an awareness that problems are opportunities. And maybe that's the key with the inflection point, is when we experience that inflection point, that discomfort, that's an opportunity. What do we need to be aware of?
Yeah, it's the letting go of the edge. And so when I was a kid, I remember learning how to roller skate and going to the roller skating rink and holding onto the wall, and how scary it is to let go of the wall. And by letting go of the wall, it created the opportunity that I could skate faster, and they could play that fun 80s music and I could go fast. And it was a lot more fun to roller skate. And we hang on to the wall a lot in our business. We hang on to our comfort zone, and we will do it with, white-fisted knuckles, and we'll fight the people around us who are saying, I'm here to support you. I want to help. What can I do? And we just have to let go of that wall. And it's not easy. I mean, I fell. I'm sure I don't remember falling when I roller skated, but I'm sure I fell a lot and it was painful. And I got back up and I learned how to skate faster.
Well, I remember those days too, and I was way better at roller skating backwards than forwards. I was roller skating, ice skating, driving the car backwards. I was way better at that than I was at going forward. So I don't know what that says about me.
We're all about moving forward, and boy, Stacey, she's great at going backwards. So I want to go, but this all ties into the capacity issue that we're talking about. And the other piece is creating the pipeline of people who want to come to work for you. And, just like on a marketing standpoint to attract clients, we want to have a full pipeline of people at different phases of interest in working with us in our businesses so that we have clients when we need them. Well, we want to do the same thing when it comes to hiring. And because we're at capacity, by the time we recognize we need to hire, this is where entrepreneurial burnout plays. It's a really nasty trifecta of complications going on because the business has legs. It's succeeding. At the point where you have steady lead generation is really the point where you want to start looking at planning for future hires. Because as soon as you start converting those leads successfully and you are in control of your conversion rate, Now you're at a place where you have some knobs or dials in the business that you can intentionally dial up or dial down. And then you're going to have clients and customers coming into the business, and you're going to need team to serve them. So the point to start thinking about hiring is that point where you have steady lead generation, and thinking through, now that I have steady lead generation, are these leads qualified leads? Are these leads that are within our sweet spot? So really taking the time there to do the whole pumpkin planning and the wish list interviews and analyzing those top clients and clarifying that sweet spot makes the next phases around hiring so much easier. But the trifecta, the complications that get in there, is we have a burnt out entrepreneur who is feeling stretched to their max, and now they're having to learn how to hire. And now we're saying, but first, before you hire, you need to look at your sweet spot and you need to go interview your top clients. And that entrepreneur's like, I don't have time. I can't do this. So, the preliminary work that we do with people as they're coming into our Better Business, Better Life program, we have identified all the right steps to take so that you can free up more and more time and get to that point where you do have the time to analyze the top clients and do the wish list interviews. We're intentionally creating capacity for people as they go through our program so that these bigger and bigger things that we're asking them to do, there is time and mental space to do them. And one of the things that I notice, Stacey, is when our clients are needing to do wish list interviews and they're still feeling at capacity, it's an indicator that something that they were doing previously has fallen out of the mix. And we do that as business owners. We do our successful actions and they work, and then we get busy and stop doing them.
Yeah, we're busy, but we also don't realize what it is we were doing that had the impact. You mentioned the dials, being able to control that. And I don't think most business owners know that they actually have control over those dials. They just keep putting things ahead of that. And it's not until you step back and say, oh, I don't have to take every client, I can focus. That it's a fear-driven decision that if I don't take this client, there won't be another one behind it, right? And the transition point for me was somewhere around year 5 when we had a reputation as being experts at what we did. And that realization allowed me to say, we have this reputation, let's protect it, right? This is our sweet spot. This is what we need to be doing. And every now and then something else would creep in that would take us away from that. And it would look like a big pile of money that was a windfall. And maybe it was and maybe it wasn't, but it took us out of our sweet spot to provide that service. And then we had to get back to our sweet spot again. So anything that takes us out of that, we have to question whether or not it's really the opportunity for us. And that's why knowing where you want to go and who you want to serve and how you want to do it, and being intentional about making that commitment is the thing that is the catalyst, or that's the turning point.
Yeah, it's really letting go of that belief and pattern of, if a lead comes, I need to take it, because you don't know if there's going to be another opportunity. Once you have steady lead generation, once you can look back over 3 months and see, wow, we've had plenty of leads come our way. That's a moment when you can say, there's control here that I can put in. I can identify who are qualified leads. And those are some of the most fun conversations that we have with our clients in the Better Business, Better Life program, is figuring out who is a qualified lead and how do you set your pipeline up to weed out the ones who are not qualified and attract the ones who are. Well, the same thing happens when we're hiring. We want to intentionally attract the right team members to our business. And that means we need to think through the end in mind. We need to think through with a sweet spot. As the business grows, we're going to have more and more clients in the sweet spot. So what roles are we going to need to fill? And what are those roles going to do in the business that serve our top clients and customers and that contribute to profitability? Those are 2 key questions that I spend a lot of focus on in the book, because we have no business hiring anyone if we haven't answered those questions. So in what way is this person that I'm putting in this role going to take care of our top clients and customers? And how does this role contribute to our profitability?
Right. So that was a huge statement. We have no business hiring anyone until we have defined the roles. So what is the difference between defining the roles and what's the opposite of that?
The opposite of it is I'm stretched to my capacity and I need some help. So I'm going to run an ad and I'm going to see who shows up. And then I'm going to hire the best out of who shows up. And to me, it looks like for a business owner who's making their first hire, they don't like the bookkeeping. That stresses them out. They don't like the social media. They need somebody who's going to do some customer service. And so they create this, they want the mini me.
Yeah.
Right? I want to hire the mini Dr. Sabrina who's going to do all the extra things that Dr. Sabrina doesn't have time for. Well, the kicker is Dr. Sabrina is not doing any of those things really well either. And so it's a false expectation that we can find someone who can do it all in our business. And the false expectation comes from this belief that we feel like as the business owner, the entrepreneur, we've been doing it so well. Surely there must be somebody else out there who can do it so well too. Well, in actuality, we haven't been doing those things all that well. We've been kidding ourselves. And so when we say, okay, I want somebody who's going to do a little bookkeeping, a little social media, and a little customer service, that person doesn't exist. And there's no way to hire someone with strengths across those three roles. Those are three separate roles in the business. And so we want to hire with a clearly defined role and result that we're looking for from someone. And Brandon Ornelas is a client that I got to work with years ago. And he had this wonderful example, and he's given me permission to share that, he was trying to hire people who were his friends, and he had a role that really required someone to be an extrovert. And all of his friends were pretty much introverts. And so he couldn't understand why they did the job really well the first day or two. But after the first day or two, their performance was going downhill. And he said, they're good students because these are college students. They're my friends. They're great students. They put in a lot of effort. I don't get it. Why are they not succeeding in this role? Well, he hadn't hired for strengths. He had hired for somebody who showed up who was an A player, but they were not a good fit for the role. And so we need to define what results we need from the role and hire for the personality strengths to fill those roles.
But okay, so I'm going to push back a little bit because I've been in this position before and it's hard. It's so hard to figure out what that role is because isn't customer service a role? Isn't bookkeeping a role? What's the difference between roles and tasks?
Their roles and their broad categories of things that get accomplished in the business. And we want to get to the point for each role of clarifying the result of this role. So if nothing else gets done in a given day or a given week, what is the one result we're looking for from this person in this role in the business? So in bookkeeping at Tap the Potential, it's accuracy. It's that things are getting posted accurately. That's the one result. And so when I filled that role, I'm looking for someone who's going to follow our systems and help us. They had to create systems too. And we're building the plane as we fly. So someone who can create the system and who can follow and execute with accuracy. Because, we have a lot of complicating factors. We implement profit first. That takes a bookkeeper who's going to pay attention to detail and check things for accuracy. We've had some people in our bookkeeping role that have not done very well with that, and that's caused problems. And so just knowing what the result is that you need can help you identify what personality characteristic do I need to hire for someone to be successful in this role.
I think there's some other aspects to that too, like knowing what's the volume of work that's involved and how much can one person actually accomplish in a given set number of hours per week or per day or per month, whatever the metric is. So there's a lot of tasks that go into the role of accountant or bookkeeper. And how do you know when that role has an impact on the client's experience? What's the connection there?
So again, accuracy. We've had situations, thankfully not in recent times, but I remember coming back from a 4-week vacation and a client had been charged over $20,000. It was an ACH withdrawal.
Ouch.
And this was not our current bookkeeper who did this, by the way. And that was supposed to have been a credit card charge, not an ACH, or it was either that or it was supposed to have been a payment plan. But regardless, I think any of us can relate to if there's something like $20,000 taken out of our bank account, that might cause a problem. And so I was horrified from a client service, customer service perspective about the stress that that was creating for one of our clients. And so it was an accuracy issue in the bookkeeping role that had contributed to that. And so from that experience, we put a whole system in place. And, we always learn from our mistakes. That's one of our biggest immutable laws is if we screw something up,
right,
and it's impacted a top client, you can believe we are going to have a stronger system out of it from that. And we definitely do in regard to our payment processing with clients. Now we have lots of checks and balances in place around it and multiple teams that are checking and balancing that. But that's the thing is that impacts profitability because the client that happened to was very gracious and worked through it with us. But we could have lost a client around that. We could have had someone out there bad mouthing us at Tap the Potential for, oh, those people at Tap the Potential, they just took $20,000 out of my bank account, and spreading the word out there and really negatively impacting us in that way. So even because a bookkeeper is not a direct client facing role in any way, but they impact the service that we deliver to our top clients, and they definitely impact our profitability. Because a lot of time had to be spent correcting that mistake, and time spent correcting that mistake took me off what I needed to be doing. It took several of our team members off of what they needed to be doing. And we had a client out there who was having a bad experience with us.
Well, and so a bookkeeper in another organization might be a client-facing role. So that's like the way we've set things up. That's true for us, but it's not maybe true for everyone in that way.
Well, and that's something you want to think about is, you can't just take one role from another business and say it's going to work this way in our business. You have to look at how your business is set up and what are the needs in that role. So if you have a bookkeeping role and there is a lot of client interaction, at that point, you're hiring someone who's very focused on accuracy and task focused in terms of the people map. And they're also good with people. And that's a different personality type than a bookkeeper who does not have client-facing interaction.
Absolutely. So I worked with a bookkeeper a long time ago, and she was fantastic, but only if you taught her right the first time. The way she learned something the first time was the way she was going to continue doing it. So if you didn't have your stuff together, and not that she couldn't unlearn it, but it would take her longer, and that understanding where her strength was. She was phenomenal at repetitive stuff, and she was good at figuring things out if they didn't match what you had told her should be happening, but not adaptable enough to make decisions independently. She would not take that risk and would not necessarily recognize that it was a risk. So knowing what you need out of that role, we're talking about one result, that what's the one thing we need above everything else, but it's not the only need we have. That's what I hear in the conversation.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm aware of our time, and I want to invite a shift here because you also have another topic, and I'd like to spend a few minutes on it here, and that's the flipping the switch and moving from business owner doing everything.
Yeah, so this is what came up recently in the conversation is I was listening to our client describe what this person had to do. I have to decide where we're going, and I have to decide what everyone's responsibility is, and I have to decide how they're going to do it. And it just struck me. Deciding wasn't the word that she was using, but it was the action that described what her thought process was. And the minute I became aware of that deciding, I was taken back to the clockwork concept of, the 4Ds and how much time as business owners we spend deciding on things that other people will do. And this is the switch that I wanted to bring up. Flipping that switch and allowing your key team members to make decisions for themselves on how we as a team will get to where you want to go. So, yeah, there was a lot in that conversation that came up to me or for me. So.
And you know what I remember about that conversation where I felt that business owner's stress, it's the deciding, but it's the piece before the deciding. It's the figuring all of this out. I have to figure this out and I have to figure that out. And then I have to make this decision and that decision. And oh man, all that figuring out is a lot of mental energy. And the hard thing about it is that the things that we figure out that we think are the best decisions, when we make those decisions solo, they're not the best decisions. And Don Zerbe in episode 112 used the phrase victim of our decisions. Our team members and our families are the victims of our decisions that we make as entrepreneurs. And that is so true, because when we're making those decisions, genuinely believe we are making the best decision in the situation, but we're not getting enough input. And you're big on input, and let's get all the input first before we make a decision. And the part of the flipping the switch is recognizing it doesn't have to be us as the entrepreneur making that decision. The team can make that decision. And so whereas, just a year ago, I was still making a lot of decisions in the business. Now I know I make decisions, probably more than I need to. I also recognize there's a lot of decisions I don't make, and it is so freeing not to be making those decisions when our team comes together, our leadership team, and we discuss issues and decisions get made out of that. They're better decisions that I would make. The input from the different perspectives is so rich. I cannot put into words how much I appreciate those discussions and the time we spend hashing out issues. And, we had our level 10 meeting yesterday, and we had some big issues on the table. And some of them were things that if I had decided on my own how to deal with them, I know that people would have been victims of my decision for sure.
That's an interesting perspective, So I heard it also in, Mike Bruno's second episode on the podcast with you, where he was creating his own chains and he was locking himself into certain ways of doing things in life, in the business, because of outside expectations and what we think is necessary. So yeah, that is a powerful thing, but flipping that switch and allowing other people to help you decide what needs to be done, or deciding as a team what needs to be done and what's in the best interest of the company, takes a certain amount of trust that everyone knows what's in the best interest of the company as defined by you, the business owner, and having confidence in an agreement for where we're going. So your vision 2021, we know as a team what we're trying to create, and we hold each other accountable. So where we get a little off track or lose sight or have confusion, we can bring it back. Wait, I think this is what we're supposed to be doing, and I'm not sure that's in line with it.
So I know our listeners are thinking, well, how do we get to that point where we can entrust our team members with these major visions? And that's that flipping the switch. And it is not a quick flip of the switch. It is an iterative process. It happens over time. So I want to walk our listeners through how do we get to that point. We do something with our clients in our Better Business, Better Life program that I don't know that any other business coaching program does. And we've been told repeatedly, no one has ever come across this. So I really do believe it's very unique to us. So we start people with business owners with looking at their life and what kind of life do they want to create. And we build clarity around that. So we start getting that life vision in place, then putting the business vision in place that supports the life, because work supports life not the other way around. And we have a very unique process that we take business owners through in creating their life vision and their business vision. And that business vision is not two sentences. It is a couple pages, great detail of here's what's going on in the business. Here are the clients we're serving. Here's the impact we're having on them. And because we're having this impact on our clients, these things are happening in our clients' lives. And because we're doing this in our clients' lives and we've got this sweet spot in our business, our team is impacted in this way. And our team members, our individual team members, are growing in this way. So there's the connection between the business owner's vision and how the achievement of that vision impacts the team members in a positive way. And that piece is how we start getting buy-in from team members to create the vision and work towards it as a team. All of that is happening while we are also working with the business owner to clarify the immutable laws of the business. And the way we do this at Tap the Potential to get to the immutable laws of the business is very unique. I don't believe it's being done elsewhere. And because it's being done in the way that we do it, those immutable laws are very organic to the organization. And the people who are on board buy in to those immutable laws. And so what is needed for your team, for that switch to flip, is a clear life vision, business vision, and immutable laws. When your team has that, they are now in a place to make decisions about the business.
One of the things that I didn't mention that I wanted to talk about, which I think is an amazing topic. This is something that I get really passionate and animated around. So we went through a process of defining the immutable laws. And the process we were asked to do is what 3 people in the company from each of the leadership team's perspective, if you had those 3 people, could take over the world. And we went through the exercise. And because I teach this, not because I'm not willing to learn another method of getting there, but I recognized something would happen through this process that was not where we wanted to go with it. And asking that question created some unique characteristics, but it didn't get at culture. And it was aspirational. And these would have taken us off track and changed the culture significantly in the company. And it was a great exercise, and I think it is valuable information. But that's not enough information for us to decide and be intentional about our culture. And we are uniquely intentional about our culture, and you've been working on it a long time, and it is core to who you are as a leader and as a human being and as a business owner. And to the extent that each of us who works on the team shares those same values, be a gift from your gift. Work supports life, not the other way around. The challenge from the person who was taking us through this process was, can you hire and fire based on these? Because they're not corporate. It's a little bit harder to be clear when we are out of alignment with those. But it is intentional to allow people to work from their strengths that we do it that way. And so in the middle of that exercise, I was just like, time out. Let's share what we have and have a conversation from that standpoint. And they still hold.
They do. And so, we were challenged to look at, can we hire and fire based on our immutable laws? And we have 7 immutable laws: work supports life, be a gift, celebrate wins, do more of what works, mistakes are learning opportunities. There's a lot packed in there. Lead with love is another one of our immutable laws. And absolutely, I have made decisions on our team based on these immutable laws. We've made decisions about clients who are not a great fit based on these immutable laws. And so it's not as simple as a corporate set of values to make decisions around. And at the same time, they work extraordinarily well. And so I want to just caution our profit designers out there as you start working on your immutable laws, especially if you read How to Hire the Best, because I walk you through how to create your immutable laws. there will be corporate trainers, business coaches, and consultants who may advise you to bring your team together and do a brainstorming session to identify the values that you want, or to, like we were asked to do, to identify 3 of our top team members that if we replicated them, we would be able to, really blow things out of the water. I think that's a great exercise. It's not a great exercise for identifying immutable laws. The immutable laws need to come from the business owner, because those are the seeds of the culture in the business that we're going to create. And knowing what makes us proud as a business owner and articulating that, and knowing when we're ticked off as a business owner and articulating the value that's underneath that, that gets at real world immutable laws. Our immutable laws are how we do life. They are not aspirational values. And when Stacey called the timeout on that exercise and I saw her defending our immutable laws, there was a big part of me, I kept my stoic face, but there was inside, I was like, hell yes, go Stacey. She's defending our immutable laws at Tap the Potential. And then I saw other team members getting on board and heads nodding on the Zoom call, like, yes, Stacey, I agree. Like, this is not getting us where we need to be. And we're not letting go of our immutable laws. They are immutable, for heaven's sakes.
Well, so not everyone, there is question. Would I get fired for not being a gift from my gifts? I might. It would have to be pretty egregious for me to do that. But it is possible for you to decide that I'm no longer working from my strengths, and maybe the business no longer needs my strengths. So there is room within those immutable laws to change. But there's a phrase that I hear often and say often, and it's how you do anything is how you do everything. And that's immutable laws. How you do anything is how you do everything. And we have choice as business owners, as human beings, as people. Are they serving us? Is this belief, is this value, is this immutable law an advantage for us? And is it serving us? And is it serving others for us to have it? And that's what I appreciate about the work that you've done and the process that you've created. And it is simple questions. What makes you proud? What ticks you off? Let's notice that. But it can't just be, so-and-so didn't listen to me and that really made me mad in a customer service situation. That's an indicator. That's not the immutable law.
Right. And so that's what we do with our clients, is we really help them get below the surface. And one of the other things that we always encourage is to put those immutable laws in a positive framework. So like saying no jerks allowed, that's okay. It's the beginning of an immutable law. I would invite people to go further with that and say, okay, if you don't want jerks, who do you want? Let's clarify that kind of person and put that into the immutable law versus, and that's how our immutable laws are written. Somebody who's a jerk is not going to be a gift from their gifts. They're going to say, no, I'm not willing to call that client. Like Darren will get on phone calls with our clients and give them one-on-one support on their sales process. That's not part of our program. That is just value add. He loves doing that, and he sees the need and he shows up and he's a gift from his gifts. So somebody who's a jerk would say, no, I don't have time for that. I see that client struggle with it, but it's not in my job description. So no, I'm not doing it. And I would say, well, see ya, because you're not doing our immutable law here.
Yeah, that is a clear line.
Yeah, it is. And that's what these immutable laws need to be. And so back to the flipping of the switch. When we have these immutable laws that are defined, and we have a life vision and a business vision and then a plan and a sweet spot, our team members are, and of course, we have to be hiring A players. We cannot put warm bodies into the roles in our business and turn all this over to them and have them make decisions as a team. We will get runny eggs everywhere. So the Tap the Potential solution really is about getting each of these 5 pieces in place to build that business that gives you your life back. And that, at the end of the day, Stacey, is what this is all about.
Yeah. So I'm just breathing in on that, because that's an amazing place to be when it all comes together and you have your life back and you can do other things besides working from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m., pacing the floor with the telephone to your ear, putting out fires.
And you and I can speak to, we're doing this process at Tap the Potential Our team is going through it. We're walking our talk. It is not easy. There's been a lot of messy, hard, stressful things that we've gone through as a team in the last 2 years. And we don't have all the pieces solved yet. And yet we're building a business that's giving lives back. And so that's what I want our profit designers to hear. This is not easy, and it's all worth it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sabrina.
Thank you, Stacey. So this has been a very long episode. I believe it's packed with value and aha moments and insight. So I appreciate everyone who's stuck in with us here through the end. And I just want to close by saying How to Hire the Best, the Entrepreneur's Ultimate Guide to Attracting Top Performing Team Members is launching November 18th. All the details, where to get the book, and all the goodies that go with it are at howtohirethebest.com. And I am pumped to get this book out there and help entrepreneurs overcome one of their biggest challenges, which is hiring A players. Because once you know how to do that, then you're getting ready for being able to take the 4-week vacation. And that's what we're working towards here, is getting entrepreneurs everywhere to be able to take 4-week vacations in their businesses. Thank you, Stacey.
Thank you, Sabrina. Have a great day.
You too.
If your business is taking over your life and you're ready to take your life back, Tap the Potential's Better Business, Better Life program could be just what you're looking for. By the end of your first year in our program, you will have more time for what matters to you and more money in your bank account than ever. Get started. Take our assessment at tapthepotential.com/assessment. Thank you for spending time with us today. Join our conversation in the Profit by Design podcast Facebook group. Share your thoughts on today's episode, ask us questions, and let us know what you want to hear about next. Visit our website at profitbydesignpodcast.com to access resources from our sponsors and tools we've created for you. Subscribe to the show on whatever platform you're listening to right now. There's a subscribe button right there. Go ahead and hit it so that you always get a notification when we release a new episode. And finally, share our podcast with a friend if you know a friend who would enjoy it. Thanks again for listening. This is real life business. Keep your chin up, keep moving forward. You got this.